Hey YouTube, Brush Life here. I'm going to start off by saying this is not a training video. Thanks to one of my subscribers. He recommended I put in this disclaimer. This is not a training video, so if you want training, go somewhere else because I'm not training at all. I'm simply giving my thoughts on certain aspects of climbing trees. So basically this video is about a part that's left out a lot of the times, I feel. Left out as far as taught to people. You can't really teach it, you have to practice it yourself, but I mean, knowing that it's a part of actually producing work in the tree. And what I mean by that is being comfortable. You might have the best gear, you're not scared of heights, you've been in the canopy several times. This is more towards people that are starting out climbing or have even maybe been climbing for a couple of years, I mean maybe even 5 years. They miss this big part that really changes everything, I think. It doesn't matter what gear you have, nothing matters unless you're comfortable in the canopy. And I'm going to set up some scenarios to show what I mean about being comfortable. So I see a lot of people, they buy real nice gear, which everyone wants nice gear, but is it the right gear for you at the level that you're at, or is it the right piece of gear for your style, or is it the right piece of gear for how comfortable you are in the canopy? You may have the nicest piece of equipment to climb the canopy, but if you're not comfortable in it, to me it's useless and it has no place in your toolbox. Not until you get to a spot in your climbing experience where you can integrate that into your style. I started off on the Blake's Hitch, which me personally, I would recommend everyone to learn the Blake's Hitch and start off on the Blake's Hitch. I think it's a good foundation to what I'm talking about. And everything, it's maybe what I'm trying to say is people spoil themselves without even knowing, starting on this other gear, and they miss all these major points or major parts in climbing, that experiences, I mean, you wouldn't get unless you did the Blake's Hitch. And you miss out on that experience that could have made you a better climber, which is just going to take you longer to learn. I don't know if that might make sense or not. I think maybe I'm wrong. Please comment what you think about this video. I think any seasoned climber would appreciate what I'm saying as far as being comfortable in the canopy, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. I'm going to put myself in a scenario in the canopy to explain what I mean by being comfortable. Relatively speaking, sometimes you can't really be comfortable, but you work with what you've got. And this is all stuff that I've learned since I started climbing. I'm not the best climber, nor the best tree worker, nor I ever will be, but I try to do the best I can and be as safe as I can. Concentrating on that, it makes you a better climber without you even knowing. Before you know it, you'll be as good as the guy that you thought was a badass, or even better, believe it or not. That's my experience. But it's a real slow process. For some people it goes by faster, for some it's real slow. For me, it was kind of slow. I mean, at first I felt like maybe this wasn't the job for me, but since it's in my family, and I was real young when I started, maybe that was part of why I felt the way I did. But even since I started off real young, if I think back, I can remember the progress was real slow, and but you eventually get to a strong climber, meaning real comfortable in the canopy, real efficient. Maybe not as efficient as the other guy, but you know, everyone's at different levels, and there's nothing wrong with that. the main thing is, you know, we all know being safe in the canopy, and actually what it comes down to is putting down work. That's the whole reason we're in the tree. If you're not producing any work, you could be the best climber, but you're useless, in my opinion. As in tree work, I mean, if you could be a good climber, but if you're not producing work, it just doesn't work out. Let me know what you think about that too. I'm not trying to put down people. This is about the tree industry and producing work in the tree. So what I mean by being comfortable, first of all, is the different positions you put your body in when you're in the tree, the way where you're anchored in, where you flip line around, and using every part of your body to make yourself more comfortable to make that cut, or to make that cut, to be prepared for any movement in the canopy if you're rigging down material. All that makes a real big difference in the outcome of things, and how things turn out. For example, we all know you're supposed to have 2 hands on the saw while making a cut. How that translates to me is, if you have both hands on the saw and you're making a cut, that means you're relatively comfortable in making that cut. If you're using one hand, that means there's something wrong where you're not comfortable to make that cut with 2 hands. That might be you being off balance, or just something not making you comfortable to use both hands. A lot of us use one hand, but we're past that part of not being comfortable, and we know when we're comfortable and we'll make that cut with one hand. This is more towards when you're first starting out. If you practice making all your cuts with 2 hands, that'll force you to become to make yourself as comfortable as possible to make that cut with 2 hands. And eventually, like anything else with practice, it'll become easy, and before you know it, you'll start using your saw with one hand maybe, which you should not. You should never ever use your chainsaw with one hand. Always use both hands. So let me repeat that again. Never use your chainsaw with one hand. Always use 2 hands. The reason I bring that in is the comfortable part. If you're forced to use both hands, again, like I said, you're forcing yourself to become as comfortable as possible to make that cut. Also, using every part of your body to make yourself comfortable to make those cuts. Of course, you're anchored in how you're supposed to. You're lanyard in. You 2 points of contact, or 2 points of being tied in. You use your feet, your knees, sometimes your elbows, your shoulders, to position yourself to make that cut wherever it may be. So you have to remember, try to use your body. You use your body in the tree, I believe, real different than you would anywhere else when you try to make those cuts. And again, it's something you learn over time. Another thing I want to say is the gear. We all know this. You got to trust the gear. What does that mean to some people? I don't know what that might mean to some people. To me, what it means is you're fully dedicated in setting into whatever gear, whatever friction hitch, whatever harness, whatever you may be using. You have to be 100% dedicated and trust it. You can't be, you can't not trust your gear, or you can't not be comfortable. You have to be comfortable. You got to sit as much weight as you can into your system before you start becoming more confident. Or what I mean is, you have to start trusting your gear and dedicating yourself into your gear, setting your full body weight as much as possible into the gear to be comfortable. So I'm going to set up some scenarios in the tree, and then I'm going to try to illustrate this or show what I mean. So this is kind of an easy scenario. You're working close to the trunk. It rained last night, so everything's slippery. So keep that in mind. Everything's slippery, but what we want to do here is become as comfortable as possible. Be relaxed at all times. Don't be frustrated. It's another thing. Being positive, not getting frustrated are all parts of being successful in the canopy. We all know how easy it is to get frustrated in the tree when we're doing tree work. So remember, just if you're having a hard day or having a hard time, stop, relax, give yourself a breather, just try to relax and approach it with a positive attitude. A lot of people that I've seen, it's not that they're not positive, it's just they get frustrated or nervous, and then they're performing the work, and we don't want to do that. We want to be as calm as possible and relaxed. So yeah, so everything's slippery today, right? So we've come to the point where we want to make our cut to start working. Obviously we need to lanyard in, so I'll go ahead and do that. And I know all this seems real basic, but the message I'm trying to get across is remember to be calm, relaxed, and as comfortable as possible. So I'm ready to make my cut, right? Wherever it may be. Now, we want to get comfortable. So let's say our cut's down there, down here. So I could just, I'm tied in, and I don't know if you can see that, I'm not really stable to make my cut. But by the book, I'm ready to make my cut, right? Well, I don't think so. I think you need to find yourself, take time, and be like, how do I get myself comfortable to make that cut? Some people make the mistake that they want to be tied in real close. That might work sometimes in some situations, but you could let all the slack out on your lanyard. Mine's not that long, and then mess around, experiment on your position. And everything's slippery, this is kind of a good scenario. So we can't really put that much weight on our shoes, on the soles of our shoes, because the bark's slippery. And we can't use spikes because we're doing a trimming job, let's say. So what would I do in this situation? Just watch my knee, adjust, have my foot down here, and see how I'm pretty much solid as far as I'm. Get that out of the way. You see how more stable I am, and I feel more comfortable, and I'm by the book, right? As opposed to how I was before. It's all slippery. See, it's hard to keep traction, but you're by the book. So you would assume you're making a safe cut, right? Which you're not. I don't think so. So you try to get comfortable. In this case, I'm using my knee and my right foot. And then, so there's fully dedicated all my weights in the system as much as possible. I got some in here in my flip line, and my knee and my foot. And now I'm ready to do a cut with both hands and comfortable. You can come down lower. So it's keeping me from moving around is my flip line, and I'm pushing back on it to adjust my climbing line. I'm pushed back on it, and now I'm ready to make my cut. I don't know if you could, if how comfortable I am translate into the video, but so everything's slippery. I got most of my weight in here. I got my right foot set somewhere where it won't slip, by my left foot will slip. So I have to adjust how much weight I set down on my left foot and adjust my body, my hips to make the cut. So see, now I'm comfortable. I can start my saw and place my cut. This is kind of an easier scenario, so I'll switch to a different type of scenario where it may be a little more difficult, like a limb walk. So I'm going to show you guys where I'm tied in right there, and we could tie in further up, of course, but I'm trying to make this more of an ideal situation where you're forced to make yourself as comfortable as possible. So we're tied in there, not ideal, and we have to get way out there. I mean, it's not that far, but you get an idea. Obviously that limb's going to be moving around a lot with your weight over there at the end, and we're going to set ourselves at the end to place a cut. So that's the situation I'm going to get into and show you guys the importance of being comfortable. So I don't know if you could see, my left foot's placed in a good solid spot. Set my right knee. And don't be in a rush. Obviously we're towards the end of the limb, so our tie-in points where we're going to lanyard in might not be ideal. So I go find a nice spot for your feet, adjust your lanyard, and I start sitting down, which I probably don't want that. I want to be maybe above the cut. So you adjust your climbing line, set back in it, place your feet, maybe adjust your lanyard. So now I'm pretty comfortable. I'm tied in. By the book, how you're supposed to make your cut. But the important thing is here, I'm comfortable. I mean, I can't show how comfortable I am. I mean, I can't translate how comfortable I am, but I'm pretty comfortable. I could start my saw, make my cuts. So yeah, take your time, relax, and don't make the cut until you're comfortable. And like anything else, with practice, before you know it, you'll be in the spot to make the cut comfortably, real quick. So yeah, this is one of those scenarios where sometimes for some climbers it becomes kind of difficult to become comfortable, and you usually have to do this when you're working over power lines, over gutters, over roofs. So it's kind of necessary that you put yourself in this position to have full control of the material you're putting down. So here I could rig everything in small pieces if necessary and drop them wherever I want to drop them, or rig them down. Test out the area before you even start the saw, you know. Make your adjustments. Now I'm pretty much comfortable. Think about what you're going to do and see how you feel, first of all. So I'm pretty much as far out as you need to go to make any cut. Make sure you're comfortable. Don't be afraid to, take your time. Make sure that this is the position you want to be in to make your cut. So you put your weight into your system. Now you're ready to start your saw. You start your saw, place your cut. You got smaller pieces, you have more control, right? So yeah, I don't know if I'm getting the message across on what I mean by being comfortable. It's just practice, and it's being comfortable is what I think will prevent an accident. Because if you're not comfortable, you're not thinking right. It's like when you're in school, you have to be comfortable to learn, right? Well, same thing here. You have to be comfortable to do your work, like any job. If you're not comfortable, you can't do it to the best of your ability. So maybe this illustrates a little bit on what I mean by being comfortable in the canopy and in what kind of situations. So let me know what you think of the video. Garbage, or you like it, or a waste of time, let me know. So yeah, so thanks for watching YouTube.